Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 11 of Pumpin Iron, the review series for the classic muscle cars that of course feature in the lineup of GT6. And in this episode we're featuring a potentially controversial vehicle, the Art Morrison 1960 Corvette show car. And this car is potentially controversial for two primary reasons. The first reason is fairly obvious. It's a Corvette. Is the Corvette a muscle car, or is it a sports car? Well, in the modern day, there is no argument. The Corvette is certainly a sports car. But in its classic forms, many racing games do consider the Corvette to be eligible at least for the muscle car class, if not for the muscle car and sports car class. So if the racing game classifies it as such, personal preference doesn't really make much difference. The second issue is this series is for classic muscle cars, and although this is based on a 1960 Corvette, an argument could be made that it's technically almost a brand new car because it was almost completely rebuilt as a show car. And although, again, I can understand the argument, I'm going to use the same principle that I did for the Jay Leno Oldsmobile, and that is, although, yes, electronically, mechanically, it may be updated to modern standards, the vehicle that it's based on is not a homage to the original, it is the original. And that's the case with this car as well. This is a modified classic Corvette. It's not made to look like a modified classic Corvette, it is one. So, for the case of the series, I will be including it. So now that we've got that political nonsense out of the way, what does this car actually have to offer? Because you see some people using this car, but you kind of get the feeling that it's not used to its full potential, because many of the show cars and special customs tend to be kind of sleeper cars, ironically, considering how shouty they generally are to look at. And the reason why I say they're sleepers is because many people don't really want to spend that kind of money on a vehicle that may turn out to be not very good. And most people tend to go for the obvious ones like the Red Devil or the Oldsmobile. But this car actually does have a lot to offer. Now initially, on its bare on-paper specs, it doesn't sound as impressive as some other muscle cars. It's got the 7-litre Supercharged V8, the rear-wheel drive, the classic status, etc. It only weighs 1,240 kilos with the stage 3 weight loss, which is pretty good. But the power and torque are no way near many of the other muscle cars. It's got 666 horsepower and 663 foot-pounds of torque, which, although certainly impressive, are no way near something like a Cuda or a Charger, or certainly not the Oldsmobile. So how fast could it really be? Because even though 1,240 kilos is light, and it does have a decent power to weight ratio of 537 horsepower per tonne, how good could it really be? It's got such a power disadvantage, surely it can't be that good. Especially not as it is over a 700 grand car. Well, actually, it is very good. Now off the line, it's better than some because of the fact that it doesn't have quite as much power and torque. It doesn't wheel spin quite as much. For mid-range acceleration, it's okay. Nothing that special, just okay. And the top-end acceleration does fall behind something like, say, a Cuda. However, this car's main advantage is its top speed. Now, there are relatively few tracks where that really comes into play, but on the tracks where it does, such as Route 7, Route X or La Sarthe, that is more usable. And the top speed on this car is around 250 miles per hour without NOS or slipstream, so it is a pretty fast car. As we said, combine that with decent acceleration all through its performance range, and handling which is not necessarily amazingly good, but certainly more nimble than most muscle cars, and you have yourself a pretty competitive all-round package. Plus, it's a premium model with a fully detailed interior. You can paint it, which is slightly more rare for show cars. Some of the custom models you cannot paint on Gran Turismo. And, although, yeah, at over 700 grand it is one of the more expensive cars of this series, it's also one of the most unique. Now, is the performance that it has worth that money? Is it really 10 times better than a Dodge Charger, for instance? Well, no. But as with other cars that I've discussed that are similar to this before, comparing something like a custom show car to regular vehicles isn't really fair, because the purpose of the car just isn't the same. It's all about the show, the look, the feel, the fun of driving it. Any performance is just a bonus, really. So from a collector's point of view, this is a pretty good car. If you're looking for pure performance and value for money, you might want to give it a miss for something like a Cuda or a Charger. But overall, it's refreshingly different to some of the other muscle cars and sports cars in general, and has the added advantage of being eligible for 2 categories, sports car and muscle car. So that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.